Kenyans who were brutally evicted by the British colonial army to make way for lucrative tea plantations are now demanding compensation. We have spoken exclusively to the governor of Kericho County in Kenya, who is leading the calls for justice for his people.
The British government should pay reparations to direct victims of historical injustices.
Hello, I'm Mubarak Kenya, and welcome to Africa Today.
And hello from me, Sheila Nelima. This week's edition is highlighting on Kenyan peasants whose land was grabbed by British settlers during the colonial era.
Now we are asking, will Britain own up and compensate for its colonial era crimes in this East African country?
In our program today, we are also looking into a recent oil spill in Mauritius after a cargo ship struck a reef off the coast of this Indian Ocean island nation.
The country's Prime Minister has launched investigations into this unprecedented disaster.
L'enquête va pouvoir déterminer les causes.
The investigation will determine the causes of this accident, the reasons why the boat came so close to our shores and ran aground.
We shall also have our weekly update on interesting news and events from across Africa. Don't miss the social media section where we shall have a look at your comments.
So stay tuned till the end of our show today.
UK's blood tea in Kenya. Kenya was one of Britain's most important colonies. Hundreds of European settlers grabbed and occupied the best agricultural land to grow cash crops such as tea and coffee. Indigenous Africans were brutally evicted from their fertile land and moved into crowded reserves.
Kicking us off our land and setting our houses on fire was painful. There was a lot of hunger. I remember my child almost drowned in the river as we ran away.
Now, some of the Kenyan families who were violently evicted by the British colonial army are demanding an official apology and monetary compensation.
The Kipsigis and Talai peoples in the lush tea-growing Kericho County in Kenya have urged a United Nations investigator to open an inquiry into their plight.
Lawyers pushing for an inquiry say the intentional displacement of the two communities occurred when Kenya was a British colony, making the UK responsible under international law.
I have the privilege of being instructed by for the communities of the Kipsigis and the Talai in relation to possible claims in relation to colonial mistreatment of Kenyans prior to independence.
Professor Paul Chepkwony, the governor of Kericho County in Kenya, speaks exclusively here to Press TV on his quest for justice for the people he represents. Thank you very much, Governor Chepkwony, for granting us this interview. Now our first question, why has it taken too long for the victims to seek compensation?
As you know, Kenya has had two constitutions within 47 years. The first constitution provided an opportunity for foreign companies to have land leases running for 999 years. The Constitution 2010 has amended that, and the provision now is that any foreign company can only lease land for 99 years. So the victims have been suffering silently until 2010, when the new constitution came into being.
Today, many Kipsigis and Talai live as squatters, humiliated and landless generations after their parents and grandparents were evicted from their ancestral land. Most languish in poverty while multinationals continue to earn billions of dollars in profits.
I am so angry because we were very rich people. I want the British to apologise so that we can be friends and embrace one another.
Governor Chepkwony, are you optimistic that these communities will be compensated for crimes committed during the colonial period?
If the UK government believes in respecting human rights and they are democratic, I am very sure that the victims will win in this case 100%. Because number two, other than what we are waiting from the UN as a response, the UN Special Rapporteur is supposed to respond to our issue because it was submitted by these people sometime last year. Apart from that, the National Land Commission has ruled in favor of the victims.
Thanks for that, Governor Chepkwony. Now, can you elaborate on the ruling by Kenya's National Land Commission in favor of the victims?
As you know, the National Land Commission is a commission recognized by law in Kenya, and its ruling is binding. Number one, it says that the British government should apologize. Number two, that it was wrong for the Crown land in Kericho to remain under the British government at independence in 1963. So it should have reverted to the people of Kipsigis and Talai. Number three, the British government should pay reparations to direct victims of historical injustices. Number four, the multinational companies should take responsibility and also renew licenses, which, as you know, have expired, but they haven't renewed because they have a technicality. So the National Land Commission has already ruled, and were it not for the fact that the multinational companies went to court, it should already have been concluded.
Thanks for that, and stay tuned for more.
Some of these multinationals occupying large tea plantations in Kericho include Unilever, a British-Dutch multinational consumer goods company. Unilever, which sources tea from Kericho for global brands such as Lipton, has been growing tea in Kenya since 1924.
Now, other British-owned multinationals with major tea estates in Kericho are Williamson Tea and James Finlay Limited. Governor Chepkwony, you have spoken about responsibilities by multinationals. What do you expect from these multinationals which continue to reap massive benefits from fertile lands grabbed during the colonial era?
Yeah, this is a big problem, and in fact, part of the National Land Commission recommendation is that they should do more CSR in the county. Like, for example, they need to build hospitals, they need to build roads, they need to provide water to the residents, and be involved generally in all CSR matters. But more important, they need to pay up for the stolen land, because the land is stolen. It was not acquired through legal means by the British government. So we need to settle the issue of the land ownership, but as well they need to participate more in corporate social responsibility.
The Kenya National Land Commission has said that it would not renew leases for the vast tea farms. British multinationals are using various means to challenge the return of grabbed land to Kenyan citizens. What is the status of the renewal of the leases by multinational companies that claim ownership of the tea plantations in Kericho?
Fortunately, the leases have expired and they have not been renewed, because the new law requires that before they renew, and this is the recommendation of the National Commission, before they renew the land leases, they should work in partnership with the county government. So it is not something that can be renewed without the concurrence of the county government. So as I stand here, the leases have not been renewed, and we will not renew them until we come into a negotiating table and we agree on the terms of the National Land Commission ruling.
This is not the first time Kenyans have sued the British government. In 2013, Britain announced an out-of-court settlement of about 23 million euros to 5,000 Kenyans tortured by British colonial forces during the 1950s uprising by Mau Mau freedom fighters. However, most of the victims were not happy with the compensation.
I am not happy that for my children and husband, what is 300,000 shillings?
Britain is facing several compensation claims for crimes during its colonial rule across the world.
Is it time for London to apologize and compensate all the victims?
These matters will never go away. The British government can bury their heads in the sand, but it will never go away as long as it is not resolved. For example, the Kericho case, it is very important for it to be resolved so that the multinational companies can live in harmony and work in harmony with the community. Because, you know, people know that this land belonged to us and that they know it was forcefully taken away. So the best thing that needs to be sorted out is that, yes, we agree it was stolen, we will pay for it. And then the community will say, yes, welcome and do business, and we'll give you everything that you require to do profitable business, which is legal and which is thriving on land which was not stolen, but land which is properly procured.
Very well put there by the governor of Kericho County in Kenya. The British government should pay compensation for its atrocities and crimes during the painful period of colonialism. And now in this segment of our program, my colleague is going to present you with news and events from across Africa. What do you have in store for us today, Sheila?
Thank you, Henia. This week we showcase on how Africa is winning. Let's begin with African women. Amina Mohammed of Kenya and Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala of Nigeria are still in the run for the World Trade Organization top job. As the candidates continue being cut off, the two have remained supported and in line. No African and no woman has ever held the position, and it would be a major win for the continent. Now, not as good, but U.S. manufacturer Boeing was found liable for the crash of Ethiopian airline Flight 302. The aircraft crashed 6 minutes after takeoff in March of 2019, claiming the lives of all 157 people on board. The 17-month investigation came to a close. The U.S. manufacturer is also facing accusations on oversight and certification of the Boeing 737 MAX aircraft. Now, the government of Mozambique announced that they are going to adapt measures of management to the artisanal fishing sector. The country expects to get 461,000 tons of fish by year end, of which 90% is produced by artisanal fishers. Now, on to another progressive move. The World Bank Group gave Rwanda a $150 million boost in its quest in availing affordable energy to the population. The funding targets energy access for households and improvement of low-cost renewable energy projects. Now, virtual safaris are the way to go. African countries have indulged in the trend following major drops in the tourism sector due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Uganda has just followed suit. This East African country, normally referred to as the Pearl of Africa, is showcasing its land, hoping to attract gorilla trekkers, tourists and travelers into the magic of its natural beauty. Now, Ivorian town Abobo got a makeover. The project was initiated by the town hall and financed by both the public and private Ivorian companies. It involved mobilizing different artists and craftspeople who restored and painted the town, giving it a breath of fresh air. Let's see what they say.
Yesterday, it was Abobo, the war town. Today, people say Abobo, the peaceful and pretty town. We hope it stays like this and that the community can maintain it forever. Further sanitation and rehabilitation work is in view.
Impressive. That marks the end of our newscast. Do visit our social media pages for news updates and episode highlights. Please stay tuned. We have more for you.
Mauritius oil spill.
At the end of July 2020, the Japanese-owned bulk carrier MV Wakashio struck a reef off the coast of Mauritius.
Within days, around 1,000 tons of fuel had spilled from the ship, threatening the Blue Bay Marine Park, one of the marine treasures of Mauritius and a sensitive ecology site.
In addition, this disaster risks bringing devastating consequences for the economy, food security, health, and tourism industry. The government of Mauritius activated its National Oil Spill Contingency Plan and on the 7th of August declared a state of environmental emergency and called for international help.
We will appeal to Reunion as well and France, to the United Nations and other countries, to aid in the efforts because we don't have the expertise here to deal with such a catastrophe.
There have been large protests by citizens demanding greater transparency and accountability in the oil spill response. These protests are unprecedented for this Indian Ocean island nation located off the eastern coast of Africa.
For an incisive analysis on the oil spill in Mauritius, we are joined by Daksh Bihari Pandre, Project Manager, Environmental Protection and Conservation Organization, an NGO in Mauritius. Thanks a lot, Mr. Bihari, for your time. Was Mauritius ready to handle a disaster of this magnitude? And if not, what was the reason for lack of preparedness?
But the ship was not leaking oil, whereas this one, the MV Wakashio, got stranded, of course, on 25th of July, and then started leaking oil on 6th of August, which becomes very complicated because we are not ready to face such a situation. We lack experts, we lack equipment, and of course the ship is huge. It's a big ship with and around 1,000 tons of oil went into the water. And yeah, we were not definitely not ready to handle such a ecological disaster in Mauritius.
Daksh Bihari, Project Manager, Environmental Protection.
Alongside official cleanup efforts after the massive oil spill, locals took matters into their own hands. People traveled from all over the island to take part in the operation with improvised materials.
Moi, avec mes amis, nous sommes venus aujourd'hui pour donner un coup de pouce. C'est parce que c'est la dégradation de notre environnement. Toute l'écologie marine sont affectées par l'huile lourde qui a été déversée par le bateau.
The local cleanup efforts were clearly not enough to salvage the situation. Specialist teams and equipment were sent from a number of countries as well as from international bodies to help Mauritius deal with the spill. How was the immediate international response, and was it adequate?
We first got the French Prime Minister that responded to this distress call. Then other countries also followed. For example, India also sent a cargo plane with booms and also different skimmers to help the Mauritian authorities to try to collect the oil, the spilled oil, and also try to contain and prevent more spill. And of course, other countries came in through other agreements that Mauritius have through the European Union and also the United Nations Development Program in Mauritius. The country office has also arranged help from other countries.
Japan's Nakashiki Shipping, which owns the ill-fated MV Wakashio, released a statement apologizing to the people of Mauritius and saying it intends to take steps for compensation based on the relevant laws. Japan's Environment Minister Shinjiro Koizumi has also said his country would do its best to restore the nature of Mauritius and investigate the damage caused by the oil spill.
As head of the Ministry of the Environment of Japan, committed to the mission of conserving biodiversity, I would like to do my best to help contribute toward any mitigation efforts.
Now, the oil spill occurred in the sea that is home to some of the finest coral reefs and protected marine areas in the world. What is the level of damage on the environment?
And the consequences on the environment is still very bad. I mean, they have closed all those beaches for some time. Now the beaches are open, but the fishermen are not allowed to go fishing. And they have also done some tests in these areas, and they have found that there is oil contaminants in the fish. So in terms of environment impact, it's huge, and it will take several years for it to come back to normal. And the government is helping the fishermen right now, the fishermen community, by some compensation, etc. But there are other indirect people concerned with this damage. For example, people who had a small restaurant by the beach, etc. They are not fully taken into consideration because of this ecological disaster.
Tourism in Mauritius, a popular destination for its pristine beaches, reportedly contributed about $1.6 billion to its economy during the last year.
Now, residents of the affected area have expressed concern about their future.
We are really concerned. We live here. We were born here. This is many people's livelihood, like boatmen and diving centres. And it's our beauty, it's our wealth. Who doesn't know the Lagoon of Meherberg? I think that even on the other side of the world, people know it.
Mauritius relies heavily on tourism. How has the disaster affected its economy?
Now with the oil spill, we are not sure what's going to happen. We know that our borders are opening temporarily as from 1st of October, but it's a quarantine period for everyone entering is mandatory. So every tourist coming into Mauritius has to go through the 14 days quarantine, and they have to pay for this.
Thanks for staying with us. It's now time to see what is happening in our social media platforms. On the topic discussing agriculture in Africa, we had Modo Lamin Sa stating, agriculture is the only sector that can help to develop and improve the living standards of our people in Africa. But our governments won't invest in the sector, but instead will use the sector to gain foreign monetary support, after which corruption and embezzlement will begin. Now, on the episode analyzing Zimbabwe land reforms, we had Africa Breaking News stating, who is to blame for Zimbabwe's land reform disaster? Britain, not Zimbabwe, must pay for colonial land grabs. We also had All Africa News and Leaders stating, Robert Mugabe was once a big friend of the Queen, and she even got him knighted. The day Robert Mugabe talked about Zimbabwe's minerals, the economy and the land, and said that black Zimbabweans own none of it, all white-owned media called him a tyrant and a killer. We also had Mr. Cool stating, sometimes I just wonder what is so wrong with the government of Zimbabwe. At one point, they want to compensate the ill land invasion and have gone worldwide on all forms of media. Now they are giving it back. Well, that brings a question to all African minds. How do you compensate a land that was taken from you, then still give it back? Tell us your views. Thanks for staying tuned. We earnestly hope that Mauritius will restore the original ecosystem of the area affected by the spill and take measures to prevent a repeat of such disasters in future.
And on that note, we come to the end of our show today.
We do welcome your comments through our social media pages, so let us know what you would like to see here at Africa Today.
On behalf of my colleagues here, I would like to thank you all for staying with us.
Goodbye for now.